and have our main event for today.
Yes.
We're going to have our guest speaker, Stephen Hilliard, a financial advisor with Casco Financial. Today, Stephen will discuss... Oh, hold on. I always do this. We do have a tradition.
Yes.
We do have a tradition. Since we're on a different setup here, how about we have you all the way to the back?
Okay.
We're going to start all the way to the back.
All the way to the other back.
To the other back. All right. And you know what? Who knows why we're doing this? Who knows why we're doing this? How about Liz?
So we can give them the grand applause of coming in and sharing with us.
And let's make sure he feels that after we call him in. So today he's going to talk about the do's and don'ts of networking and giving and taking referrals. Is that a great subject?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is subjects we want to hear.
Yeah.
What are we here for?
Yeah.
About referrals and network marketing, right? I mean networking. Networking. That's a different presentation. Okay. All right. So today Stephen is a recent transplant from Phoenix, Arizona, where he currently still has an active financial advisor practice. He's an independent financial advisor with almost 5 years of experience. He's also an active member of business community. Stephen is the co-founder and co-chair of Galvanize Networking Group, as well as founder of CipherABC, a volunteer business organization of arts-related charities. So, without further ado, we're gonna have great golden nuggets that we will walk away from Stephen. Let's give a big round of applause, Mr. Stephen.
Want the pomp and circumstance? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't need a moment, not with my mouth. First of all, thank you so much for moving us under the shade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, guys, what I want to talk a little about is this is networking things that I learned from a very hard way of learning, the school of hard knocks. There are a lot of places out there try to teach network how to build a referral base, and what happened was you sort of learn through circumstance. So hopefully I'm going to give you some things that I have done that I did back in Phoenix and I'm starting over here with. Some of the stuff you've heard before, but we're also going to talk about some things a lot of people don't think about that actually refers back to what GNA stands for. Okay? So, by the way, forgive the cards, but I have a tendency to ramble, so this keeps me on target. So, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this down in a couple of different things we want to do. We're going to break it down in starting, when you're going to start networking, what you have to be prepared for, where you should be networking at, what you should be saying when you're networking, and then once you start to fill up your circles of influence, which we'll talk about those too, how you keep that going and where you should be going with everything. Okay? And by the way, feel free to stop and ask questions in the middle of this. I like this to be really interactive, so the more questions you ask, the better. Okay, the first thing is when you start, before you ever set foot in any networking event, you need to be clear about what you are trying to do. This is not your elevator speech. Okay? Elevator speeches are supposed to be your catchy thing, and the whole idea is you're in an elevator ride from the bottom floor to the top floor, and in that time, you need to be able to tell someone very, very quickly, just kind of catch them off guard and get them to want to talk to you more. This is not your elevator speech. You need to be clear about what you do, how you do it, and what makes you special from everyone else who does what you do. Okay? Especially for those of you now that have started to move into, you may be starting your smaller business, or for those of us, like give you an example, I'm a financial advisor. I don't know how many of you network in other places, but we come a dime a dozen at networking events. Realtors are the same way.
Insurance agents,
mortgage agents. A lot of you who are in the network marketing world, you see a lot of the same reps, okay, from your particular company. What makes you stand out from the rest of them? And be very careful that you're not using these words. I'm trustworthy, I'm ethical, I'm passionate. Because guess what? Everybody's looking at the same thesaurus, and they're all using the same words. Start to figure out what makes you different, what makes you stand out. And by the way, this message is going to change, so don't panic. What you want is the basic concept now. So when you sit down and you walk into a room and you're telling someone what you do, you know specifically what you do, why you do it, and what makes you special. And I promise you, it's going to evolve. The message I say today is very different than the message I said 5 years ago, because you get more sophisticated about it, you start to learn things, okay? And once again, remember, this is not your elevator speech, okay? Be able to articulate what you're looking for, okay? Once again, I'm saying these are things you should be doing long before you ever network. This should be part of your business plan. And when I'm saying being able to articulate what you're looking for, you need to be specific. This is your ideal client, okay? If you sit down and say, and I ask you, what are you looking for? In fact, who in here knows what their ideal client is? Les, why don't you give us, what's your ideal client?
You want me to mention it? Well, specifically what I'm looking for, I'm looking for, how do I say this the right way? I'm looking for single-family residents that have an auto and a home, and I do insurance, so that's a lead-in, and that's ideally what I target.
Okay. See, the last thing I should even get more specific, and you can literally say, and I'm looking. By the way, this will change. You should be up to changing it every month, because in my case, I work with so many different types of people. So I'll come out and say something very specific. So this month, I am looking for, I'm making this up today, but this month I am looking for young couples between the age of 25 and 35 who have small children that are in the middle, maybe mid-career, just starting, with a median income of about $75,000 a year. Okay? You can get more specific. I'm looking for someone, and like in the insurance situation, I'm looking for someone who owns a 2-story home in the following neighborhood. Why do you want to get that specific? Anybody know? Okay, I'll give it to you. If I come out and say to you, I'm looking for anyone that's breathing, what happens?
You lose focus.
It's too general. And you sit there and go, But if I say to you, I'm looking to talk to your next door neighbor, what happens? I've just specifically told you what to give me. Okay? So be specific about what you're looking for and be willing to change it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go through those phases. I have to be very careful in my world, because if I say I want to work with people who have $500,000 or more in assets to be able to invest, that can really narrow things down. But that's okay to say that's your ideal client, but then say, but I'm always willing to work with anybody that needs help. Okay? So what I want to emphasize again is if you are not coming to networking with a clear message about who you are, how you do things, what makes you special, and who your ideal client is, you're already entering networking at a disadvantage. Okay? Think of it in many ways as a race. Okay? And you want to go into that race with the best car and the best fuel possible. Okay? So go out there right now. If you don't have that down yet today, make it a point this week before you start next. So before you start next Monday, you're going to have this message down. Okay? Okay, now where should you be networking? Okay, I may be getting a little trouble here, so I'm going to put some emphasis out there. You actually should be networking everywhere. Okay? Especially when you first start out. You should be trying everything on God's green earth. And you should stay consistent with it. If you walk into a networking event one time and you walk out, you have not given it a chance, and you're not going to learn anything from it. You're not going to know if that's the place for you. I know very few people, I actually will say, Rick, you're actually one of the people that's an exception to this rule, who can walk into a room and immediately feels comfortable, or at least puts on a wonderful act that he feels very comfortable. And I think he makes everyone around him feel comfortable. But for most of us, you need to give time to feel comfortable in a particular situation, okay? And also, too, don't do just traditional networking, okay? A lot of people make that mistake. They go out there and they look for the traditional networking lunch and the chamber of evening events and the breakfasts and things like that. You're completely missing the entire world out there of organizations that you can make a difference in and get business out of. And I will tell you, actually, back in Arizona, I'm actually still looking for my circle here, to be relatively new. But back in Arizona, majority of my business came from my volunteer work. Because what happened was people saw me and who I really was. They saw me doing my volunteer work. We had a mutual passion for things. And then what happened through the course of conversations, you might be having coffee or a beer after you just built a new house for Habitat for Humanity, but someone asks what you do, and it just so happens because they know you now, they know you have the same passion, they trust you, they ask more about what you do, and they're more likely to be the person that's going to direct you over to somebody else. Okay? Clubs. You know, it doesn't have to be a volunteer organization. There are so many clubs out there, especially on Meetup. I mean, it is so easy today than it was even 5 years ago with the internet to go out there and find clubs that fit who you are. So don't just do networking at business organizations. If you are in a situation where, like in my case, as a financial advisor, every network I go to, I usually have multiple financial advisors there. I like being the only one here, remember. So what happens is whenever I go to these network events, I'm always seeing other financial advisors. By doing the volunteer work, though, I really narrowed down where I'm going. Okay? So give things a chance. Figure out what fits for you. A couple of things too is, I know it's not going to sound like it makes sense, but believe it or not, it does. Belong to other professional groups with people who do exactly what you do. Okay? I belong to professional financial planning organizations. And are they going to be my clients? Not necessarily. But I promise you that building that professional circle up will lead to other things for you. Other opportunities will pop out of it. Okay? Someone may decide to leave. In fact, I will tell you this. It's a primary example. I actually belong to a professional organization, financial advisor back in Phoenix. And one of the people I got to know very, very well that we would never have given business to each other decided to leave the industry. Turns out he was an independent. Who do you think he transferred all his clients over to? Okay? All because we developed a very, very good friendship because of that professional organization. The other thing too is if you can't find what you're looking for, start your own. Okay? It's not nearly as hard as it may seem, especially if you don't put pressure on to have it grow at a particular pace or whatever, that you simply go out there and you share what you're looking for with like-minded people. You will eventually track what you're looking for. Okay? Okay. Now we've got our message. We know exactly what we're looking for as a client. We've got a general idea of where we want to network. Now what do you do? How many of you go into networking events with a goal? Okay. Liz, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your goal when you go into a networking event?
My goal is to be able to meet people who would benefit my service. That's my goal when I go to an event of that type. I don't necessarily go in there and hard sell them, but I keep my ears open.
Okay.
And usually it's in conversation.
Okay. I'm going to add to something real quick because you said something. I'm going to take a little step back. You said you keep your ears open. Does everybody know that when you're in business for yourself, or even if you're a salesperson for another company, aren't you networking all the time?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be networking all the time?
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean you're hard selling. It doesn't mean you're in the middle of the line at a local amusement park and you start pestering someone to buy your insurance or to get a financial plan from it, but you're listening, and people talk when they're in groups and they chit chat. But the thing is you're not just networking for you, and that is what I've eventually worked with. That's going to be my final message of the day. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I don't need to put you on the spot with this, but actually, you're going in with the wrong goal. And here's why. The reason I don't get in trouble with people for hard selling is that I never, ever go to a networking event to sell what I do. Ever. I go into networking events with the concept that that there is not a person in that room that's a client. Okay? Now, here's why. We're all beings of conscious and subconscious. Okay? No matter how good my intentions are, if I walk into a room and the whole purpose of my being there is to sell my business, no matter how nice I am, no matter how warm I am, no matter whatever I do, isn't it still going to come across? You're always going to be that little edge. Okay? You don't want to be that way. So what happens is change your point of view about why you're going into networking. You are going into networking to build your centers of influence and to help your fellow networkers build business, not you. And I promise you, when you change that space, you will get more clients. Rick, I'm going to use your primary example of that. And I'm going to pick on you a lot today, Rick, because you actually have been one of the most wonderful people I've met since I've come here. Rick is a primary example of that. Rick not once, ever, tried to sell anything he did with me. Rick's purpose from day one of meeting him was to help me. Now, maybe consciously, deep in the back of his mind, he's like, I'd like to get this guy's business. But it never came across because Rick was out to help me. And because of that, I approached Rick and said, can I sit down with you and let's talk about your business a little more, because I think I might be able to use this back in Arizona. Okay? So go in there with a different attitude. Okay? Now, it's not just a mental attitude about goals, it's also a numbers game. How many people are familiar with metrics? If you're in sales and you've done sales for years, you're familiar with metrics. If you're not, I'm about to give you a quick lesson. Okay? In sales, metrics is based on your, I apologize, I'm going to start talking like a financial advisor for a second, your rate of return. But let's put it this way. How many people do you need to talk to get a certain number of one-on-ones that lead to a certain number of people that actually hire you for your business? If you haven't figured that ratio out, you need to figure it out. Okay?
10 to 3.
If that's your ratio, it's going to be different for everybody. Okay? The nice thing about knowing your ratio is that also it gives you a goal to work on. If your ratio is for every 300 people you talk to, you get one client, or let me put this, let's make it worse. For every 300 one-on-ones you do, okay, and if they're an hour piece, that's 300 hours, you get one client, you need to rework on your message.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's a good way to check out your ratios.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and this is why ratios are so important in your metrics. I have a goal that whenever I go to a networking event, now it just so happens here I happen to know just about everybody here. So that for me, this event is a little different for me. But when I go to some of them where, like a chamber event at night, where there's 350 people, it's overwhelming. I don't go in there saying I'm going to talk to 350 people. Here's my goal. Mine's simple. Your goal is going to be different, so don't take mine and say I'm going to run with it. My goal is I don't leave that event I've spoken to only 5 people. Okay? And it's 5 people I want to talk to. It's not 5 people shoving cards at me. It's 5 people that just talk to me and I realize there's already a connection. There's a warmth. We like something together. There's something in common that we can build on a foundation, and that we need to go to that one-on-one. Okay? Because I only focus on those 5 people, I get just about every one-on-one I ever set up. Very rare do I not get a one-on-one. And frankly, when people don't do a one-on-one with me, it's actually, I appreciate it because it means I don't need to waste my time on it. Okay? So figure out what you want to do when you go to a networking event. Yes, ma'am?
So exactly what is the one-on-one? Is it just getting to know that person?
Right, and we'll get there in a second. We're going to talk about the one, but you're right. There's a very specific thing you should be doing with one-on-ones, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But what happens, you go in there with the idea that, and the reason I do 5 people is because with the way my business works and the number of hours I have to spend working for my clients, which is what I'm here for, and to protect my clients and watch out for them, I have to put a certain number of office hours in. So for me, I can afford to do about 10 one-on-ones a week. Well, if I go to 3 or 4 networking events a week, and I'm only talking to 5 people, that's 20 people, and basically I could stop networking tonight, and my calendar's already full for the next 2 weeks. Okay? So pick out what your goals are. So don't go in there with the idea of finding clients. Go in there with the idea that you are looking for your centers of influence. Okay, and let's talk a little about what centers of influence. How many people know what their center of influence is? Okay, yes, ma'am. What's your center of influence?
My center of interest is that I really love having a great time, and I invite other people to have a great time.
Okay. Well, just a correction. That's not a center. That's an interest. A center of influence is different.
No, that influences people.
Well, we're still talking about 2 different things. A center of influence are people who share or are in a position or job that will naturally talk about what you do. So in my case, a center of influence is, Elias actually would be a center of influence. He's a property and casualty insurance agent. That's a natural business for what I do, because when he's talking to clients, he's going to talk about what I do. Okay? Others for me are CPAs, lawyers, realtors. Those are my centers of influence. So it doesn't mean that people that love you aren't going to be a center of influence. But these are the natural centers of influence. Okay? Yes, sir.
And another thing that could be a center of influence, not trying to toot my own horn or the GNA executive team, but the GNA executive team is a center of influence because we have a network that we're bringing over to you, and we're very well connected. We're known in the area, and we can connect you with people that you need to get involved to, move forward. Yeah.
And like I said, there's variances on what I'm talking about is the natural center of influence. Okay? If you are a physical therapist, your natural center of influence would be a massage therapist, someone who works in dietary. If you're, I'm right on my thing on you, what are your centers of influence when it comes to business?
IT guys, phone guys, those sort of things. Sometimes we call them power partners.
Your power partners, right. They're power partners. And by the way, it's not to say what she said was incorrect, but the things what happens is you have what are called champions, the people who love you. And they may not be in your centers of influence, but they become a center of influence because they're naturally talking about what you do because they love you. But what you want to look for at the beginning is your natural centers of influence, the businesses that complement what you do, so that when you're out there talking and they're out there talking, they're going to naturally lead to your conversation. I'll give you an example. Here's something. I have a plumber back in Arizona that I refer people to. He is not my center of influence, and here's why. Think about you've got the plumber in the middle of he's working on your sink. You want your sink cleared out. Are you going up and asking, by the way, do you know a financial advisor while he's under the sink? No, you're not. That's why it's not a natural center of influence. Does everybody understand what the center of influence is? Okay. So start putting that in your head. I need to go out there and start looking for the people that are going to naturally talk about what I do. Okay. So we talked about ratios, what you need to go in, prepare for the ratios, things like that. Okay. Now's where we're going to talk about the emotional side of things. Be yourself when you're out there networking. Be genuine. I don't deny I have a personality that only particular people like. I'm straightforward. I'm blunt. I don't let anybody get away with anything.
Yes.
I don't let anybody like that. But because I'm genuine about who I am, I don't try to fake people out. I don't try to make people I'm something I'm not. Who are the people attracted to me? People who want that in their life, or people who are like me? Who is more likely to do business with me? Someone who's like me. Okay? So, and I'll put in a political standpoint. If you're a way on the left-leaning, liberal Democrat who everything does, you're not going to go to the Republican National Convention to look for your clients. And vice versa. Okay?
I leave politics out of business, at least I try to.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's certain things you don't talk about. You don't talk about religion, politics. But I'll tell you something. Here's something. If you are really passionate about politics, why aren't you joining the local party?
Really?
Because guess where your business is going to come from? The local party. If you are a very spiritual, religious person, why aren't you joining religious organizations? Okay? Business can come from anything. And don't feel guilty for going out there and talking to people. The cool thing about when you join social organizations and nonprofits and things that fill what you want politically or things like that is that not only are you building up your network, or the 6 degrees of separation, I can't remember who used the last meeting, but it's the same concept. But you're having fun doing it. I'd much rather do the volunteer stuff than go to chamber events at night. Okay? Because I'm doing something I'm passionate about. So make sure you do that. Okay, and I'm guilty of this. By the way, some of these things you do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Because I have to watch this too. How many of you have seen this at networking events?
Oh yeah.
I'm really bad about it. Even when I'm in a great mood, I've done it here. I'm in a great mood, but my mind's thinking about 12 million things, and this is just a natural position for me. Well, what this says is I'm closed off. Okay? So make sure you're showing the right body language. Okay. Also,
Steven, can I make one more comment? Yeah, you have to make yourself approachable is the thing. Yeah, I'm not going to come up to somebody who's like cold.
And especially at these networking events, because it's already intimidating. When you're walking around a group of people or a crowd, it's different here because everybody here really knows each other and the new guests are welcomed in and warm the whole bit. But in a networking event like a chamber event, it can get intimidating. So you want to be as less intimidating as possible. You want to attract people who want to talk to you. Okay. Give a flavored answer to a fruitless question. Okay. Here's the fruitless question. How are you doing? It's a fruitless question. But if someone gives you a fruitless question, how do you give them a flavorful answer? I'm doing great. I'm doing extraordinary. Things are wonderful. It is okay, I'm being silly. But what you do is you give the answer that's going to go above and beyond. Okay? They don't really care how you are.
It's true.
Okay?
It's called small talk.
It is called small talk. Okay? They don't care how you are. So make it sound wonderful. Make it sound so good that I'm like, really? Things are that good? What are you doing? Okay? And I'm guilty of that. I've said people have things going, well, to be honest with you, today was awful. Don't do that. Okay, so if you catch me doing it, and you probably have caught me doing it, Rick's caught me doing it, you're to hit me upside the head. But supporting it was. That's really where it was. That's why I had to get a haircut. But okay. The other one is, what is your story? Okay? Once again, the story is not your elevator speech. The story is, why are you doing what you're doing? Now I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to knock it down really short. Okay, I'm going to try to give it in a little bag speech here. Okay? But what happened was, I was a recruiter for 12 years, and I'm really breaking this down because I'm going to elaborate. I was a recruiter for 12 years, and what had happened was, after being in the business for 12 years, I got laid off. When I got laid off, the first phone call I made was to the unemployment office, and the second call I made was to my financial advisor, because I was using my financial advisor the way a financial advisor is supposed to be used, to come and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing money-wise. And the fear was, oh my gosh, what do I have? It's liquid. How long can I survive on this? The whole bit. My financial advisor came over. We were sitting down talking, and it turns out during the process of the conversation, wow, you ever thought about being a financial advisor? No. Never crossed my mind. When he started explaining what it was about, and it turns out it was a lot like what I was doing as a recruiter. Listening, finding out what people needed, solving the problems. It was everything I loved about recruiting, and more so, because it didn't have all the other BS that went with it. And that's how I became a financial advisor. Two things happened with it. I told people a little bit more who I am. By the way, like I said, I elaborate a little bit more. It's a little more passionate when I'm doing a one-on-one about it. But what happens is I'm giving people a message about, first of all, who I am. But what else did I just do there? Without trying. Didn't I just tell all of you one of the reasons you should use a financial advisor? Without coming and saying, you got any money with this? Okay? So think about what your story is. Why did you do something? If the whole reason you got into your business is because someone told you that you're going to make $35,000 a month by putting your feet up on a table, then you need to rethink your story. Okay? Don't lie about it, but rethink your story. But what you should be doing is something you're passionate about. Why did you get into it? And I think we all have our stories. We're just not developing them. Why we got into them. Okay. Okay. I'm wearing mine today. I had to find it. That was my issue. Wear a name tag. Okay. And here's why. I don't know how many of you have been to the Capitol Club. Okay. Wonderful place, the Capitol Club. I actually, thanks to Rick, Rick was my sponsor and I actually got to join. It's been a wonderful experience. I love it. What I really love is that I get to walk upstairs, I'm not wearing a name tag, and everybody in there, Mr. Hilliard, how are you doing? And I'm like, how did you know my name? Okay? But it makes you feel good. How many of you are that good? I'm not. Okay? How many of you are that good where you remember everybody's name you've ever met?
And once you see them a few times, then you start to remember, not right away.
But not
Yeah.
right away. But
Yeah.
the thing is, though, is when you wear a name tag, two things happen. You're not only hearing it, but they're visually seeing. So you're helping them. I remember Liz, but her and I talked to her 175 times, and I'm really mortified I cannot remember her name. And I can be like, Liz, how you doing? Thank God she's got a name tag. Okay? Wear a name tag. I promise you, you will have more people, especially people who've met you before but are afraid to come back because they're embarrassed because they can't remember your name, will come back and talk to you. Yes, sir.
It's really more important when you get older. Oh,
I'm on your page. I'm on your page. I'm 40.
That's funny.
I'm 47 and I'm starting to feel the brain disappearing on me here a little bit. And I'm not remembering things the way I used to. So I appreciate when the name tag's on there. The other thing too is there's a lot of this thing out there about you don't want your business on your name tag because you don't want to turn people off and da-da-da. Well, here's my point on that. If someone doesn't want to talk to me because of my business, do I really want to talk to them?
No.
Because what's happened here? One thing, we're never going to have a relationship because they don't believe they like what I do. But number two, they're not the kind of person that's going to go out and network because they don't talk to people because they're business. I'm trying to think of a company that may not have come up with. Here's an example. Legal Shield. Okay? Back in Arizona, Legal Shield or prepaid legal, there probably for every 10 people there are 6 reps. It's huge in Arizona. I've talked to so many prepaid legal people back in Arizona. All the time. I love the product. Why would I talk to all of them? Is it because I'm a jerk? Or is it because I know that what might be the right person for this rep over here is going to hate that person because that person is a hunter and this person is a total animal protective activist. So what happens when I go out and talk to different businesses and do the same thing, the reason I'm doing it is because I want to be able to fit the personality to the personality. I'm not offended when someone has another financial advisor they refer people to because I'm not right for everybody. I know that. I know what my ideal world is. And it's not right for everybody. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with talking to you. You're not breaking any laws. You're not being dishonest. You're not being untrustworthy. You are allowing yourself to be able to do what you need to do best and to watch out for everybody. Okay? Also, too, it's free advertising. I have actually had it happen where I was at a networking event and I don't know if it was, I think it was a combo because I wasn't wearing a suit and every other advisor in the room was dressed up in a three-piece suit and looked like they were, big New York bankers, and I was in a pair of dress jeans and a nice dress shirt, but I had my name tag on. And they immediately came to me, and said, I need a financial advisor. So it's free advertising. Apparently I have 2 minutes, I'm gonna try to go through this. Stop hovering with people you know at networking events. You want to socialize after, okay? There's nothing, you're doing a complete disservice if you are walking to networking events and there are the 6 friends you have and you're hovering with them. First of all, those of you who are in high school, especially the guys, what was more intimidating thing when the girl you liked, or the guy you liked was in a crowd of people and you wanted to ask them out? Think about that. We're dating. That's what this is dating. So make sure that you come over and don't hover with people you know. Okay, a couple very, very quick things. This doesn't necessarily happen at the networking event. You want to start asking some of these questions, but this should happen at the one-on-one. Don't ask yes or no questions. Ask open-ended questions. The question that we ask here all the time is, let me know how I can help you move your business forward. Is a great open-ended question. But you need to be asking even more questions, more specific. Give you some of the examples. What is the biggest issue you're facing in your business right now? Now that doesn't say clients. That's giving you an idea of where people are coming from. And guess what? For some of you who have business-to-business type businesses, that's a great lead-in. What's your biggest issue you're facing in your personal life? What's your stumbling block? Ask questions like that because that's what's going to lead to other business, and that's actually how you're going to help your fellow networkers. Let's see here. We talked about open questions. Okay, and this is the final thing, and I know people don't do this. And I know this because I'm always the one that does it, and they don't. Follow up, okay? If I give your business card today, you should be contacting me either today or tomorrow, except under the most dire circumstances. And it should be email or a phone call saying, I met you at such and such an event, I would love to talk to you on a one-on-one. And I always set my one-on-ones up before I go. I don't set the date. I say, I really would like to talk to you. Can I give you a call? Okay, so I ask them beforehand. And they know I'm not hard selling because I don't mention my business. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. During your recruiting years, what did you learn were the best hours of the day to contact somebody?
Well, that's a little different because in recruiting, we were always doing it after hours because most of the time you were catching people who were out of work. During business, this is different. Okay, so I won't answer the phone after a certain time at night on my business line. Because for me, my business, I have my personal time, I have my business time. That's the way it should be. But in the recruiting world, we would do it on weekends, we would do it after hours because I happen to recruit engineers, and I need to talk to engineers when they were done at work. I couldn't call them at work. So it's a little different. But it really doesn't matter. If you're sitting, first thing I do when I meet someone is, you've all done it. Those of you who had a one-on-one with me, I did it to you. First thing I sent out was an email. It was so nice to meet you yesterday. Would you like to meet for coffee or tea or a drink or whatever? This is when I'm available. Would you be okay? If I don't get a response from that, I'll call 3 days later. I make a phone call. And then I give it a week, and then I try again. If I don't hit them 3 times, I say, you know what? They're not interested, and I'm not going to bother anymore. But I give everybody 3 strike rule. Okay? But when I'm talking about follow-up, I'm also talking about the fact that you need to be touching everyone at least 24 times a year. There are people that are important to what you're doing. And that does not mean sending people about your business, okay? I don't want to hear from you 24 times a year trying to push your business on me. Touching me 24 times a year means, is that you are saying, how are you doing? Let's get together for coffee again. How's the dog? How's the kids' football game? That's touching people. Because what happens, you're going to be at the right place at the right time. I get clients that I've met 5 years ago. Even if I just got a call the other day from someone that I actually networked with 5 years ago, because every 3 months they get a call or an email from me saying, how are you doing? How are the kids? How's the dog? How's your husband's job? Because I know he was still looking. Do you need help with anything? Bam. I never mentioned one word about my business. Okay? If you're not doing that, you're already setting yourself up for failure. Okay? And I know I gotta finish, so I apologize.
That's all right.
Have a system to connect with people. How many of you have a CRM system? Salesforce is a primary example. I know your company actually has one as part of your program. If you don't have one, you need to look into it. It's a great way to keep in track of who you're talking to, when you're supposed to talk to them. I have every single day I get up in the morning, and I have all the people I have to contact for that day because I've set it up months before. Okay? So people always hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
For those who don't know, CRM stands for?
Oh, that's a good customer relations manager. Thank you. Sorry, it's all me and all my little thing. Final, and this is it, and I promise we'll be done. Learn how to be creative about how to sell your networking partner's stuff. Okay, or business, service, whatever. And what I mean by that is this. I will sit down with someone on a one-on-one meeting. One of the things I'm very proud of myself about is that I can basically refer anybody because I know how to be creative about people's businesses to get the word out about them. You all need to be doing the same thing for your networking partners, okay? Because I know just enough about everybody's business to be dangerous, and I know what to listen for. And because I ask the open questions, I know where I'm going with it. So start to be creative. You name a business, and I can probably figure out a way to get the word to somebody about what they do. It's also listening. If you go into these meetings and all you're thinking about is how am I going to get this person to close, you're going to miss out on everything. You're going to miss out on future opportunities. You're going to miss out on possible referrals. You're going to miss out on referrals for the people you're working with. Okay? So, in closing, those of you who do not have this, get your message together. Figure out who you're talking to, put your metrics together, figure out where you want to network and start experimenting. Do the volunteer work, be part of organizations that are not necessarily business organizations, and really start thinking about the fact that what you're really building, and maybe this is the best way to clear this up, start thinking of networking itself as a business. And the cool thing is it's actually the easiest business in the world to be successful with and grow, because there's no pressure. So start thinking about networking as a business, and that your whole goal is to build up the biggest possible group of people you could possibly know. You know everything about them, they know everything about you, and they love you. And when you do that, you will see your program grow. I've been here 9 weeks, and I have already been referred to several different people. I've already had business referrals to me. I've had centers of influence referrals for me, all because I was open about what I was looking for. I wasn't hiding anything, and I made sure I asked them what they were looking for too. Any questions? I'm sorry I ran over on this one today.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Stephen.
Good job. Maybe one day. Thank you.